You all live in the same cul-de-sac, it appears to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and looks like you were all friends until COVID masking differences seem to cause a split. Is that a fairly generalized, accurate summary?
It seemed to have died down well after that. We seem to have found peaceful, congenial conversation, neighborly conversation after that until um, the most recent situation where it felt like Kathy Coughlin was very dissatisfied with my lack of urgency to move a kid slide that had been in my driveway. And after I didn't comply within the hour of her text message, she went on to aggressively text me, and then she contacted the homeowners association, and not that that's my problem. I did everything that was necessary. I addressed her and said, I'm sorry, I'll get it taken care of. Um, and then it was a few weeks after that that she unexpectedly, and for no apparent reason, started flipping me off when I was driving down the street. And again, it was just me in the car the first time, and it didn't, I don't care whether Kathy wants to be my friend or my neighbor or what she wants from me. It's not important to me. However, the second time she did it, my son, who's 9, was in the car. And when she did it, the way she leaned in and had a very, from both my son's and my perspective, vicious look on her face, he got really scared. And he started asking me, Mommy, is Miss Kathy going to hurt us? Is she going to come after us? Are we in danger? Mommy, are you in danger? And of course, I did say to him at that point, Miss Kathy must be very unhappy about something, or there could be something going on that we don't know about, but we're going to just ignore this for now. And after that, my son continued to ask me every time we left our house, whether it be through the front door or the garage, is Miss Kathy going to be out there? Is she going to try to hurt us? And at night, he would even ask me, Mommy, is she going to come attack us in our sleep? Is she going to try and break in? This isn't how a child should live. I encouraged him to play outside and be with his friends, and told him I would be there to protect him. And I did. My husband or I remained outside. However, what sadly happened after that, I had asked my husband to please speak to Kathy's husband if he saw him outside, and they did. They saw each other, and on a couple of occasions, actually, Matt had approached my husband and apologized on his own, which was nice. And then at one point, I said to my husband, you need to let him know that this has escalated to a point where if she continues to harass us like this, I'm going to seek legal counsel. And again, she did. She actually was on the edge of my lawn. I think you have a photograph of that. And she just started yelling at us. And she claims it was distress because we took a picture of her, but she had been taunting us by looking into our yard, and and I don't know. Our yard, it's on the same border as our neighbors. She says she was visiting the neighbor, which she probably was. The Campbells, who also stated that my son had been outside playing, which again, Your Honor, I don't think anyone who has a child unless you have a child, understands what a child goes through.
Your own.
And this is my child. And trust me, he is scared. We were getting ready the other day, just yesterday, to go somewhere. And I asked him to go out to the car to help his dad. And his dad wasn't out there. And he said, Mommy, I can't go out there. Miss Kathy's out there. And I'm afraid. This was just yesterday. And so yes, I'm asking for a protection order because I need to be assured that she's not going to, again, unprovoked, for no apparent reason, behave in a way that is threatening or scary to my kid. I don't care how she behaves towards me. I'm a big girl. I've dealt with all kinds of people throughout my life, but my child shouldn't have to be scared in his own cul-de-sac.
And specifically, Ms. Graham, since you're the one speaking here, what are you asking me to do?
I'm asking for you to provide a protection order for my family and I. I drew a diagram, and it's just so that she's not allowed to flip us off and yell at us and make gestures towards us that are uncomfortable. I mean, based on your protection order, what is all unlawful harassment, which I'm sure you know, the last one said it would cause reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress. And that's what's happening with my son. He is distressed. It's just not fair to him. So I'm asking
Yeah.
for a protection order.
Okay. Thank you.
Your Honor, it's also happening for my wife because my son works, then it becomes an issue for me as well. You know, my family's upset and it's just going on, you know, they, William still goes outside, but we're there to watch him. But because of this, until we get to a place where this is, you know, safe, and I don't know if we'll ever return to a neighborly place. I'd like to, but that's going to take time. And in the meantime, we we want this in place. Just because we filed, things changed after we filed. Just to give you an idea.
Okay. Well, I think in your petition, you said the last incident was on the 14th of July.
It was, yes.
Has there been anything subsequent?
No, Your Honor, because we filed. And I believe she was advised by her attorney to not approach us anymore so that there was no further issues. However, that doesn't leave out the concern my son has.
Right. Okay. But I think you're indicating to me that your belief that she had been advised by counsel not to engage in that behavior and has not subsequent. Is that correct?
Not at this point, no. I don't know. The hard part of this is that she's very unpredictable. My history with Kathy over the years, because we've known them and we were friends, is that if ever I said something that irritated her, which I never knew what or when that would happen, her messages were vulgar and belligerent and unexpected. I've always been a very neighborly, kind person. I was a good friend. And sadly, it's unpredictable. And that's why I want the protection order, not because I can't, it's because I don't know what to expect or when to expect it. And that is not a way to live, to be wondering if today is the day that she's going to decide that it's okay for her to treat us badly, or for her to decide it's a day that she could flip us off, whether it be next to us, across the street, or from our neighbor's driveway.
All right. And I want to be clear. I didn't see anything in what you had filed or listening to what both of you have said that Ms. Coughlin's actions haven't specifically been aimed at your son. Is that correct? He's been the collateral damage of what you believe her inappropriate actions are.
That's correct.
Absolutely, that is true.
Okay.
But this collateral damage to us is huge.
Okay, no, I understand. I remember I've read what you've said. Yeah, I read what you filed and I've heard what you've said.
Thank you, Your
And
Honor.
Parent myself, so I understand. All right, Mr. Hill, do you have questions for the Grahams?
Ms. Graham, do you acknowledge that I'm questioning from the judge, you acknowledge that the origin of this of the conflict as you framed it in your initial declaration was this conflict over the COVID exposure?
We believe it, sir.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Mr. Hill?
That's Mr. Hill.
Mr. Hill, I believe that the situation with the
I asked you a yes or no question, ma'am. Is that correct that you testified that?
I think that was the
She-
beginning of the
Say yes or
issues. So yes,
Okay.
that was the beginning of the issues.
And at that point, I know she testified to, in her statement, said that was about 2 years ago. It was actually about 4 years ago, wasn't it?
No,
Well, when co-
no, it wasn't. If you want to go back and look at the text messages, they should be pretty well dated or close to dated, but no, I don't believe that. I could look on my phone and tell you, but it was maybe 2 or so years ago.
And there was a time following that,
Mhm.
well, she was upset with you, right? Because you were challenging her behavior in the grocery store or something, and she was upset with you.
Actually, it wasn't a challenge. It was a comment. It was just,
Okay,
I
right.
was sad to
Well,
see. No, I'm
I don't want-
sorry.
I don't want to have a semantic discussion with you. You were critical of her for her behavior in the supermarket when you believed that she was positive for COVID.
Yes, when she had no mask on, having COVID and coughing
It
over
was
the
a yes
produce.
or no question,
Yes, I
ma'am.
did. I was critical. You're right. I said I was
And
disappointed.
so she stopped contact with you, right?
Oh, no, she had a barrage of text messages that were nasty to me. And then I
And then
stopped
stopped
contacting
contact.
her. No, well, but I stopped the contact, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, great.
It was a mutual thing.
Great. So you mutually agreed to stop contact.
That's correct.
There wasn't an explicit agreement to say we will no longer speak to each other, right? It just happened.
Actually, no, in the text messages, it actually ends with, I would like to be cordial and congenial throughout the neighborhood and be neighborly. And we agreed to that.
Okay.
That's how it ended.
But in fact, there was very little or if any contact from that.
That's
point for a while.
correct. Yes, that
And-
is correct.
And who was it that reinitiated the contact?
Well,
That's it. Also for a name.
it was, well, I think it was rather mutual, in my opinion.
Who
I-
initiated? People can't
I-
initiate something at the same time.
I offered a truce by offering a plant and saying, I don't want to be unneighborly with you
Okay.
any longer,
So how
or
long was that?
what?
How long ago was that?
I'm sorry, I don't know. It was probably a year and a half after the initial incident where she coughed over the produce in the market.
So that makes it roughly 6 months ago by your estimate?
I'm not sure. Could you explain to me why you're asking me these questions? Because I don't see how this is relevant.
Okay.
And Ms. Graham, I'm gonna let Mr. Hill ask some questions. So just answer the questions he asks right now, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was your question again, Mr. Hill?
Your testimony, I'm just trying to check your math here and make sure you're comfortable with your dates. You said that the COVID incident was, you thought, roughly 2+ years ago, and that it was about a year and a half between that and your taking the initiative to reconnect with her. And so that would, by my math, that would put that reconnection at about 6 months ago. Now, maybe that question triggered, prompts some recalculation of the time frame, which is fine. I'm just trying to check.
I'm not positive of the time frame, Your Honor. I mean, Mr. Hill, I would love to be able to help you. If you'd like me to search through my text messages, I could do that and give you an exact date. Do you want me to take the time to do that?
No. Okay, so there was this agreement between the two of you to essentially not have contact.
I'm sorry, no, we never agreed to not have contact. We agreed to be cordial. We didn't agree
she-
to not speaking. We agreed
Okay,
to be pleasant while we were out in our neighborhood. We live in a cul-de-sac. We see each other often because she walks her dogs. I walk to the mailbox. My son and I are out front in our yard. So we agreed
is much
just
more
to be
complicated.
pleasant.
This is a much more complicated answer than my question was. So the the question now is that she honored that agreement, did she not?
At the time she did, yes.
And that agreement was in effect until you undid the agreement, or essentially by initiating the contact.
I didn't undo any agreement. We were ignoring each other is all it was. We didn't agree to never speak. We agreed to be cordial. Again, I could find the text messages that have those words in it for you if you would like.
If you would like, that's fine, but it doesn't bear on my question. So the question though is that whether it was an agreement to not have contact or an agreement to be cordial, the effect was that you did not have contact with her for what you estimate to be a year and a half.
I'm sorry. Would you describe what contact is? No, we didn't get together and have tea like we used to, but we see each other in the neighborhood. So we never had we never actually used the words, I don't want to have any contact with you. We agreed at the end of the thing with the COVID that we would be cordial and neighborly, meaning that when we saw each other on the street, we would continue to be cordial and neighborly. If you would like me to express further what that means, to me, in my perspective, that means that you just are kind and pleasant when you're outside, you're polite. And we were, and that was fine. However, in my opinion, I felt the tension between us. So I offered a flower to say, you know what, I'd like us to not be quite so cold. And you know what she said? Wow, thank you so much. My husband and I are so appreciative that you reached out. We're really glad that you did that. Thank you. So yes, I did reach out. However, she was very receptive, happy to do it. She called me immediately after to say, I'm grateful that you did that. Thank you, Susan. So go on.
Okay, so in that year and a half, it sounds like cordial and friendly did not really come about. It was just that the behavior was not unfriendly.
That's correct. It wasn't unfriendly at that time.
You thought it was cold and distant.
It felt cool to me. We live across a cul-de-sac from one another. I'm not sure what you're trying to get at. We live across the cul-de-sac. When she was outside and I was outside with my son or myself, she would turn her back away from us, which was fine. However, I wanted it to not have to be so obvious that it was so hard for us to coexist. I tried to mend that fence. I'm the kind of person who wants things to be peaceful. I want to be neighborly. I'm not looking to have a hard time with my neighbors. This is the last thing I wanted.
Ma'am, if you could limit your answers to my questions, I'd appreciate it. It'll save us some time here. So on this occasion, you asked your husband, similarly, it sounds like, hey, you need to go talk to her husband and get this to be cool and friendly and cordial, right?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. Could you be more specific?
Well, I'll speak.
No,
to-
wait. I want to see what he's talking about. Because are you talking about the COVID incident?
All right, so I'm going to interrupt here. We don't need to rehash every single conversation that went on. I've heard testimony that Ms. Graham asked her husband to go speak to Ms. Coughlin's husband, and I understand that the position of the Campbells and Ms. Coughlin is that Mr. Graham coming out and taking photos is what caused Ms. Coughlin to respond when she was walking in the cul-de-sac. So let's focus. And then apparently the Grahams were concerned about the report from the Coughlins to the HOA about a slide or something that was left in the driveway for what Ms. Coughlin believed was or her husband believed was an inordinate period of time. I've read all the documents. I've read all the statements. Let's just focus on whether there's a basis for entering an order here. So, Mr. Hill, if you'll just, we don't need to go through all the other factuals.
There was you're aware that there was a conversation between your husband and Matt Koch.
I am aware.
Matt Koch. I'm sorry.
I am aware.
Okay, and so between that conversation and July 14th, there were no incidents, correct?
You,
That's,
that,
that is not true.
that is,
There
that,
were two
That-
conversations.
there were two conversations, but the conversation that I'm assuming you're referring to is the one in which my husband read a statement that I asked him if he ran into Matt on the street to please read to him. My husband took a photo of it on his phone, and that's what he did. He read that to my husband. My husband read that to Matt, and Matt apparently, I'm not sure, I wasn't there. My husband would be able to speak to it. It seemed like they were calm and peaceful, and he understood. He must have relayed the conversation to Kathy, and is what I'm assuming. Again, I was not there. And then on the 14th, which was a couple weeks later, is when she claimed she was visiting the neighbor, but at some point she was leaning over into our yard. It felt like she was taunting us as she was looking into our front yard. And then both my husband and I felt it was necessary to take a picture of her. We weren't photographing her because we wanted to annoy her. We wanted to protect ourselves. And if she was going to have another outburst unexpectedly, we wanted to get it on a camera. However, and that's exactly what she did. She was standing on the edge of our lawn, right near the sidewalk. And yes, it was in the neighbor's driveway, which is on the same property line, and started screaming at us. And she said that she felt unsafe because we were taking a picture of her. But she was on our side of the cul-de-sac. Your Honor, here is a photograph of our
Okay,
cul-de-sac.
thank you. Really, I've read everything that's been filed. Okay, and Mr. Hill, like I said, we don't need to go through.
That's all.
Okay, all right. Do you have any questions for your client?
Yes. Kathy, everything you said in your sworn declaration is true.
Yes,
Do you have a question in your own mind about the timing of the dates of the COVID event and the reinitiation of contact with Susan?
however you presented it was correct.
Okay.
Timeline.
In the declaration?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to focus on, now you, in your declaration, you've already said that you recognize your flipping off behavior as childish and you didn't know her son was there and so forth. I just want to address the question of July 14th. The testimony that Susan just offered suggests that her or her husband's photography began after you confronted them. Is that accurate? You understand the question?
No,
Her testimony was that she was taking pictures or video or both of you in response to you lashing out at them from your friend's driveway.
yeah, sorry, I'm confused.
Okay, yeah, I'm just reciting what her testimony was
Yeah.
and asking if that is accurate.
Well,
Why don't you just tell me what happened?
okay, so what's accurate was, you know, I totally admit I flipped her off twice. She was in a moving car. I had no idea who was in the car with her. And then my husband and I talked and everything stopped. I said, that is super immature on my part. That was it. I was done with that. And then 2.5 weeks later, the neighbor that neighbors with Susan Graham, I went over there to visit her because she had surgery. And as I'm walking up their driveway with my puppy, Mark comes out of their yard and follows me up my neighbor's private driveway, videotaping me on his phone for no reason. And then, so there's more to it than that. They went in their house, they opened their window, they were videotaping my neighbor and I on her front porch. And
How do you know they were video?
because we saw them, we saw them open the window. My neighbor Jennifer was really upset because we didn't know what was going on. And so I was leaving and Jennifer came out on her porch and I was walking down. I got down to the end of the neighbor's driveway and Mark and Susan both came at me with their phones videotaping me. And so of course I yell out because I'm like stunned. I'm like, what is going on? And so I yell, stop, you know, you're harassing me, you're scaring me. And if it doesn't stop, I'm gonna call the police, because I didn't know why. And then later, with a follow-up conversation, Susan's husband says to the neighbor, well, we did it because we thought Kathy was gonna destroy our property. So that's what initiated. Before that, there was nothing. I mean, no contact, you know.
Between your conversation, between Mark's conversation.
And Matt, after that conversation with my husband, I was like, I get it, you know, no problem, you know. And then that situation came out of nowhere, which just revved everything up that didn't need to be. I was visiting my neighbor. So
That's all the questions I have, Judge.
Mr. Graham or Ms. Graham, any last comments?
Yes, I'd like to, Your Honor. I know you have all the information, so I won't go over it all, but there was 2 conversations that I had with Matt, and I think that bears on this situation. The first one, Matt actually initiated, was very nice. I was up at the mailbox. Matt and I had been cordial through all of our conversations, I thought, but he came up and said, and he apologized. I know it must be tough. So that was a good conversation, but I said, yeah, it's got to stop. That's it. End of conversation. There was an incident after that first conversation that now my wife asked me to please talk to Matt and read that statement. And that's when you have that one. I waved him over on the side of the road and had that conversation and said we would seek out legal counsel at that time. And I understand that a restraining order, if we called, could bring the police out, that she could be arrested only under that circumstance, because we had talked to a few people by it. But then after that, the day of the, so after that conversation, everything did stop. Until the date in question on the 14th. And Kathy was walking up. I was working in the front yard. Kathy was walking up to the Campbell's driveway.
Because of our history.
Okay, Ms. Graham, just let Mr. Graham testify. Only one person speaks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Kathy was walking up the driveway. It's a wide driveway, but she was right on the edge next to our grass. And okay, I just watched her. I did not have my phone with me at the time. And then she walked by, actually one of the points in question in the HOA thing. And she peered into our area, put her head over and looked over. And that's when I got upset and I went to get my phone to do the pictures. And then I came outside and began to take pictures and shot some video. I called later and talked to Mr. Campbell and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you. We all met. And you know the rest. What I said with Mr. Campbell about deleting the photos. And at that point, I got rid of everything in my thing because it upset him. And we learned about some other stuff. And that was, I thought, a cordial conversation. And but I probably wouldn't even have done what I did if the tension didn't already exist between Kathy, Susan, myself, the 2 families. And so with that tension in mind, that's why I got the camera to shoot. I would have never done that. But I walked the neighborhood. I was carrying my phone. Every time I got close to my phone, I turned it on because I was wondering what was going to happen. And I wanted to be able to have evidence. I know that's what you need to do anything here. So I had my phone on. My wife had her phone on. So when we would leave our property, we would turn on our phones just waiting to see if we were going to get flipped off. Now, I never got flipped off, but my wife did. And so that's really what I had to add.
All right, thank you. It's sort of resurrecting the facts in this case, resurrecting 4 years ago or 6 years ago, probably closer to 6 years ago. You know, when we're hearing all about people's views on masking and how that somehow seemed to lead people to really get angry at each other. And it just brings back those memories. So that was the first thing I thought when I was reading the documents in this case. I hoped we had moved past that, but some of this still resurfaces. As to the complaints that Ms. Coughlin may or her husband may have made about the issues with the play equipment in the driveway, that's an issue for the HOA to resolve. And clearly the two parties, there's enough tension existing between the two families that neither the Coughlins should point that out to the Grahams. You just talk to the HOA if that's necessary. And the Grahams, if the Coughlins talk to the HOA, you know, deal with the HOA, not with the Grahams. That's, you know, that's how this ought to go down. You know, and I get living in a close neighborhood. You like to have friendly relations with everybody where you can all talk and, you know, have open discussion. And sometimes that's not possible. And what's certainly not possible is for the court to have given order that everybody in the neighborhood be polite and courteous and friendly with their neighbors. I would love that if I had that power, the world would be a much better place if I was in charge, but I'm not.
Yes, Your Honor, I agree.
So we can't do that. So what I can indicate is, you know, you each, the reason I've let this go on longer than I normally would have is so that you each could hear each other in a more neutral forum here, where you're not confronting each other, but you're listening to each other in some way, so that you understand how each of you has been troubled by the behavior of the other. And I do appreciate that Ms. Coughlin recognized that some of her initial actions in response to what I thought was Ms. Graham's polite recognition to Ms. Coughlin about, yeah, maybe it's not appropriate if you have COVID to go to a grocery store not masked. And I thought, okay, that's probably what I would have done too. And then Ms. Coughlin's responses says she acknowledged were inappropriate. So you both understand the nature of appropriate and inappropriate, and you both understand I can't tell you each to like each other. That just can't happen. So the impacts on William, I get, and Ms. Coughlin has heard that, and I'm going to speak for her in this case, even though I don't know her, and say I'm sure she takes that to heart and doesn't want to do anything that would be destructive or harmful to your, I think, 9-year-old son. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not going to issue the order, but we've had a full hearing here and you've each averred it. I hope you act appropriately and set a good example in the cul-de-sac and show that even if you can't be friends, you don't have to agitate and annoy each other. You know, if there are rough edges there, just ignore each other. But I'll just make clear at this point, you both have made clear to the other, I don't want contact from you. If you choose personally to have that contact by offering each other plants and begin a period of reconciliation, that's fine. That's up to you. But right now, you both have sort of made it clear to me that you don't want that to happen. You don't, not that you don't want reconciliation to happen, but you don't want contact from the other party. So I will ask that you do that. And to the extent that you don't, we might get a different result if there's another petition filed after subsequent actions. But we've given this a full airing. I really hope things in the cul-de-sac calm down and you can each treat each other humanely, if not at least just ignore each other. All right, I'll sign a denial for that purpose, and Mr. Hill's here on behalf of Ms. Coughlin. You'll get a copy of it, and for the Grahams, if you wish a copy, you can just get it from your file at district court.
May I ask a question, Your Honor?
You may, go ahead.
If for some reason Kathy Coughlin behaves very unpredictably again, may I readdress this issue with you?
Yeah, as I just indicated, you have the right to refile petitions in the future. It would have to be based on something subsequent to today's hearing. But just remember what I said, I can't tell people to be nice. So there has to be something more to it. And I'll just leave it at that. But I hope we go into the.
And what about the emotional distress it's caused my son?
Yeah, I can't do anything about that. And I heard what you said, so did Ms. Coughlin, and I am confident she'll take that into consideration and how she acts around your property and your family and those sorts of things. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Tom.
you.
Please don't. I want to watch. Can you?
Thanks. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
You're welcome.